thought you could win.
Is this your game?
So Kang versus Ant-Man happened, but the good news is Kang versus Killmonger is here and promises to be a much better fight. Seriously though, Creed 3 is looking good. I wasn't sure about it in the lead up, but the first trailer drop was solid. I'm liking the friend angle, the apparent anime influences everyone's hyping up. It has all the makings for a solid entry into the saga. Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors are at the top of their game right now, and the latter is the perfect choice to play Creed's new nemesis.
Let go of whatever was and walk into what is.
I feel those chains are breaking, yeah.
With Dial of Destiny on the horizon, and films like Ghostbusters Afterlife, The Force Awakens, and Terminator Dark Fate well and truly in the past,
I'll be back.
I find it astonishing that the Rocky franchise managed to find new life with not only a legacy sequel, but a legacy series. Creed is the best legacy sequel of all time. To my mind, it's the only one I've ever seen that has managed to completely stick the landing. It's the perfect Rocky 7 without being Rocky 7. It's a great boxing movie in its own right, and it only leans on nostalgia and legacy to bolster its characters and its story. Creed is the Bible for anybody trying to do a sequel to a franchise that's long been put to sleep. Creed works so well primarily because it isn't Rocky's story. After 6 movies of getting in the ring, apart from that one movie, we've seen all that. Instead, the focus is on Adonis Creed, the illegitimate son of Apollo Creed, the greatest fighter in the Rockyverse. His life hasn't been blessed with Apollo's riches the whole time, and we in fact meet him at a youth detention centre, rescued by his father's widow, Mary Ann. He grows up in his father's shadow, desperate to attain the same level of skill and success in the ring. He wants to build something for himself, and in his own words, prove he's not a mistake. Obviously the character is irrevocably connected to the former Creed of the series, and by extension Rocky, but the movie uses this as fuel to make us care about him, rather than the movie using those past glories as rewards for our investment. Other legacy sequels make new characters their story, sure, but they make the audience wait with bated breath to see the legacy characters, whether that is the intention or not.
Have you missed us?
The backstory of Apollo and Rocky is obviously familiar for audience veterans, but for newbies the film succinctly captures all the key information. This movie is built on the shoulders of the absolutely epic bro-nection between Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed, and somehow manages to match it with the Rocky-Adonis relationship. Of course, in the first 2 movies, they have a rivalry, with King Creed shocked to be rocked by the underdog Italian stallion. They win 1 fight each. The secret sauce comes in Rocky 3, however, when Rocky goes to Apollo for help. He needs to get the fire back inside him after it's been ripped out by Clubber Lang. It's here that they become the ultimate duo. Creed shows to Rocky that there is no tomorrow, and they train together in one of the best fist-pumping montages ever put to film. This montage is peak fucking best friend cinema. 2 key things happen from there that Coogler's Creed utilises. Firstly, the secret third fight between Rocky and Apollo that starts off screen at the end of part 3.
Come on, watch yourself. Ready?
And then, of course, Apollo's tragic death in Rocky 4, where the Italian stallion then goes to Russia to avenge him against Ivan Drago. So when we come to Creed, that relationship to baby Creed,
Call me that.
is very emotionally charged from the outset. Rocky was his dad's best friend, but he was also the guy that didn't throw in the towel when he absolutely should have. At the same time, Rocky knows it was Apollo's ego that got him there in the first place, something he can see happening to Adonis all too well. Rocky takes on this uncle/mentor role to his old son's best friend, and the dynamic is really sweet.
Since we're pretty much like family, who won the third fight?
You did.
Director Ryan Coogler came to Slive the pitch for Creed, and the actor was reportedly hesitant, feeling that the ending of 2006's Rocky Balboa was enough. But Coogler, who's previously noted that the Rocky series was part of a special bond with his own father, convinced him to come on board. It's easy to see why Coogler's vision for Creed caught the eye of Marvel Studios, and the rest is history. In terms of the look and feel of Creed, gone is the 70s grit and the 80s cheese, but in its place Coogler utilises cinematographer Maurice Alberti and composer Ludwig Göransson to maximum effect. The fighting, while still clearly choreographed, looks more like a real boxing match than ever before. Sometimes in the old movies there would be a tendency for Rocky to get pummeled for a whole round with his hands down before turning the tide, whereas in Creed there's much more of a realistic back and forth between the fighters. I don't really go mad over one takes. Whilst technically brilliant, I think sometimes they can become a bit of a crutch for the audience to be awed in place of good writing, but that doesn't apply here. The one take fight is brilliant, places you in the action, and is probably one of the best matches of the entire series. They reportedly shot this 13 times, and the 11th take was what ended up in the film. Masterful.
You didn't say you had hands like that! Why did you say you had hands like that, though?
That's not to say that the final fight doesn't also deliver and then some. There's some great shots, like seeing Creed and Conlon on screen as we move down into the ring, and this arc shot of the pair going at it. Coogler managed to bring a fresh new energy to the look and feel of the Rockyverse, without merely trying to replicate a style from yesteryear to tap into the nostalgic pleasure centres of your brain.
What's up?
You got something you want to tell me?
The first Rocky movie is a pitch-perfect drama, and part of what makes it work so well is the romance between Rocky and Adrian. In Creed, Adonis' romance with Bianca is just as well fleshed out. Tessa Thompson didn't want the character to be a token girlfriend, and so she and Coogler worked hard to make sure that the character had her own motivations and dimensionality in comparison to its lead. They both have dreams and their own hurdles to climb, and their blossoming love feels authentic. And this is what it's about, taking the time to craft brilliant new characters so that by the time we come to a Creed 3, there's a whole cast of mainstays who we love just as much as the ones from 30 years ago.
Now we past talking.
Then maybe you just have to find him.
What I love about Creed is that even though the emphasis is firmly placed on the title character, that doesn't mean Sly is just kicking around in the movie with nothing to do but collect a paycheck. After they hit the ground running with the training, Rocky gets a cancer diagnosis, and his reaction leaves the doctor shocked.
I'm okay with it, really.
Adonis is equally confused, but Rocky spells out exactly why he doesn't care.
If I could take everything that was good and say, hey, here, I'd like to buy one more day with my wife, I would die a happy man, right then.
I think this is such a raw scene because I personally think there's a lot of truth to this. I think a lot of older people have this kind of peace from losing a life partner, that readiness and unwavering fear to die because they have already lost what makes life worth living. Sly plays it perfectly here, and once again Adrian proves, 2 movies absent, that she's still the greatest thing that ever happened to him.
If you don't jump on this quick, you're gonna end up dying. And you're all right with that?
I am.
But Adonis gives Rocky an ultimatum. He'll only fight if he does. In doing so, he shows Rocky that Adrian might be gone, but there's still plenty of people who need him here, plenty of people who love him. And this all comes to a head in the final fight of the movie, the most exciting part.
Punches right hand, left hand, both guys landing. This is unbelievable.
After going toe-to-toe with Ricky Conlon, Adonis is on the ground. He can't get back up, and boom. One flash of the fucking goat, the absolute goat. The ghost of Apollo Creed is right there in the ring with his son, and he helps him get back up. Any other legacy sequel would make the whole finale about Apollo. He'd probably turn up de-aged in some capacity. Even though the character is dead, I feel like a lesser movie would have worked some awkward way to use him in somehow. But Coogler gets that less is more, and so that flash of Apollo is absolutely all we need. It's epic.
I should have stopped this fight with your father. I'm stopping this one now.
Don't, okay? Let me finish.
I think the movie can't get any better, and then Rocky gives Adonis this corner motivation speech.
You taught me how to fight again, and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna fight this thing. But if I fight, I want you to fight too.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have to stop this epic speech, just purely for copyright reasons. I'm sorry.
Can you do it?
You're gonna knock that son of a bitch down.
I know you are. You know why? Because you're a Creed, and I love you, kid.
Adonis is pumped, Rocky's pumped, I'm pumped, and then the theme kicks in.
Go get him.
You've definitely heard me harp on about not using iconic tracks enough in these nostalgia bait movies, and it irks me to no end. And I think some of you think I'm being a bit harsh on films like No Way Home for not using Toby's theme more, for example. But I think the reason why I am harder on all these legacy sequels getting the music right is because of Creed. Because, oh my fucking god, this movie chooses the absolute sweet spot, the perfect time to let that theme go, baby. There is no way you cannot be hyped.
To the fight.
That's what I'm talking about.
So Creed trades on a lot of the emotional resonance of the earlier movies, sure, right up until the point I just described. Maybe if you're not a fan of the older movies, you won't get anything out of it.
What's the truth, damn it?
I'm afraid! Alright?
But here's the thing. To my shame, the first movie in the Rocky series I saw was 2015's Creed.
Damn, man, what the hell are you doing?
I didn't have a reason to care about Rocky and Apollo's relationship, much less Adonis, but every reason to care is crafted in this movie. I was punching the air when Adonis got back up, I got chills when the Rocky theme played, and I was fully invested in seeing Adonis win that fight. It didn't matter whether or not I'd seen the previous movies, but it also gave me the taste for more. 7 movies in, Creed made me a fan of Rocky. That's the incredible thing about Rocky as a franchise. You could feasibly argue that there are no bad movies. Even when they're wonky, they're fun, or at least have some kind of earnestness there, and even 6 movies in, Rocky Balboa brought something to the table. That speech about how winning is done, nobody tell me Sly Stallone can't bring it when he wants to.
How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
This whole franchise is corny, sure, but it wears its heart on its sleeve, and that's the whole point. Rocky is an incredible character, a force of pure will. It's impossible not to get behind him. If you're a fan of superhero movies and you haven't seen any of these, I would urge you to watch them because Rocky is a freaking superhero, and past the first movie, they all become superhero movies. Every movie a new supervillain mustache twirls into Philly, the city he protects, and he takes them on, fighting them and his own nerve in the process. And you can boot them up and have a fucking blast every single time. There's even a robot in it. What more do you want?
I wanted a sports car for my birthday. Not no walking trash can.
Oh, and at the end of Rocky IV, he literally ends the Cold War, ushering in a new era of world peace.
If I can change, and you can change, everybody can change.
Rocky was able to do this in a ring after a few scraps.
Scraps!
In spite of there being an abundance of sequels, the ongoing relationship with Apollo, Adrian, Mick and Paulie is the backbone of the series. You'll go from viewing Apollo as Rocky's arrogant rival to Rocky's best friend. And again, that montage, guys, that montage is the peak. Even Creed 2, whilst not as strong as the first movie and lacking Coogler's direction, is all worth it when Ivan Drago throws in the towel for his son Victor. He does the one thing he wishes someone had done for him. The one thing even Rocky was incapable of doing for his best friend. And he proves that he cares more about his son than his son's record. Creed 2 might be the weaker Creed movie, but damn it, it takes a Cold War era one-dimensional monster and turns him into Dad of the Year. How can you not love these movies even at their worst? 2015's Creed made me go back and fall in love with those movies while still giving me a great time in the now. Neither the current movie or what came before overshadows the other. As an MO for a legacy sequel, can you nail it much better than that?
You know, Stallion, it's too bad we gotta get old, huh?
You're a Creed, and I love you, kid.
So all in all, I hope Creed 3 continues the great legacy, and I hope Sly can sort things out with producer Irwin Winkler, because if they don't at least give Rocky some kind of final scene or send-off in the future Creed movies, then that will stand as probably the franchise's first truly unforgivable mistake. A big thank you to my full fat tier patron, Dr. Chike. If you'd like to donate money to my Patreon, you can find me at patreon.com/fullfatvideos. If you'd like to find me on Instagram, you can find me at full_fat_videos. And if you'd like to find me on Twitter, you can find me at fullfatvideos.